Hey, how's it going? I'm Mark. Hey, look, I am actually growing stuff, and I think it's fantastic. So, a lot has happened since last we chatted. Nothing very exciting necessarily, but you know, the usual. I think last time we chatted, we were talking about the perlite starts and how they were doing. The starts did fantastic. This year I did skip a step. Normally I would have taken them from the small tent in the rockwool cubes and put them into the big tent in 4-inch pots for probably 2-3 weeks. However, this time around, because I got what I thought was a late start, I kind of skipped that step and left them in the starting tray, and it worked out fantastic. What I thought was starting out late actually turned out to be just perfect. They were still manageable. I could still kind of work with them pretty well, and they were tall enough for the Dutch buckets as well when I transplanted them into the containers. I had to harden things off in 2 rounds. I started out, I did 3/4 of the tomato plants, 18 plants I had in, and the rest I filled up with some select pepper plants that I wanted to get out and get a head start. Mostly the Carmens, because as you know, my faves. I don't know, I did 3 days on the 80% shade cloth, and then 2.5 days or so on the 50% shade cloth, and they came out and they went into the system. No stress, no trauma, nothing horrible. So that's really cool. Oh, and I did harden off in the raised hoop house, you know, with the shade cloth and stuff like I did last year. And it worked really, really well. I just had to make sure I kept the flaps open when appropriate. You know, put them down a little bit when it rained. But other than that, it was so easy, so nice, very, very cool. I have to say some of the advantages of starting in perlite when it comes time to transplant the seedlings, or starts in this case because they got pretty big, into the Dutch bucket system. Separating the seedlings from the rest of them, so much easier because they're not connected. With the rockwool, you had to be very careful. At least I had to take a razor blade and sort of cut in between the plants and stuff. It was very harrowing, a bit distressing, and I just think it works so much better, so much nicer. The algae, yes, you get algae on top just like you do with the rockwool, but not nearly as much algae. And when you get the algae, you just kind of brush it off, and it's fantastic. It's very nice. Another advantage, if you have people that you give starts to, like I usually start way too many plants, so I give some folks at work some of the starts that I have left over. And they've normally had the rockwool chunk at the bottom. And it takes a lot longer, I think, from what I've been told anyway, a lot longer for the rockwool starts to acclimate to the soil than it does the perlite. Because basically all you got out of the perlite is just roots, just a bunch of roots. And they seem to do much better. I've got a few peppers that I've done in dirt as well, and they seem to be acclimating very, very well. Very quickly too, so it's kind of cool. I figured out a good system for putting my shade cloth on and off, and the biggest trick to getting to being able to easily put your shade cloth on the hoop house is to fold it nicely when you're done the time before. When you do that, it's a piece of cake. It goes very, very smoothly. Takes a bit of time really to fold it up and to brush it off and stuff, but you know, I think it's worth it. The frustration that you can have trying to do that by yourself can be quite something. And while the first batch of stuff was hardening off in the hoop house, gave me some time to clean up the structure a little bit. I took the power washer, this is a while back, I took the power washer and cleaned off the benches and threw a little paint on in the spots that needed it, some touch-up paint. And so they're all nice and white again. Gotta like that. Also noticed a bird playing with string and I felt really bad that this poor bird kept trying to fly away with the string. So I came out and I cut the string up into little pieces because it was attached to a bobbin. So I just cut it off the bobbin and left shorter pieces of string. And sure enough, he came back and ran away with them. Built himself a fine, or herself, I don't know which one. Built themselves a fine nest, I'm sure. Again this year, I am using the American Hydroponics tomato formula. It's a 2-part dry formula. And so each part goes in a 5-gallon jug. You usually just fill up the 5-gallon jug about halfway, dump the dry newts in, shake it up as much as I can, and then I'll fill it up to the brim, and then throw it in the second bathroom in the nice cool, it's more of a storage room than a bathroom actually. And that's where it sits until I need it. I did some improvements in the water area. I put a pole in for the water filter. It used to just kind of sit on a cement block, leaned up against the water barrel, but I put a nice 4x4 post in, and painted it white, and stored it on there. Much easier to work with, doesn't fall over and stuff. Kind of cool. I'm happy I did that. Also cleaned out a nicer, bigger area to work with back behind in the water area. And I had to expand the size of the hole in the ground for the reservoir because somehow it kept getting smaller year after year. So I just expanded it considerably, and now I got all kinds of room to work in there. It doesn't have to be quite so tight. But anyway, it's been a swell chat, and I'm glad you could have a little sit down and get you caught up on where we are today. And you know what I didn't mention? I didn't mention my second round of starts that I got put out. And you know, I took the time-lapse video, so I should probably mention it so I can use the footage. Otherwise, why did I take all that footage? So there you go, that was fun. And as you can see, everything is doing freaking awesome out here. Best ever, I think, start-wise. Everything is looking really healthy, really, really nice. The German Johnsons are the only thing that I'm a little concerned about. They have a little bit of apparently early blight, but just the German Johnsons they're the only ones that have it. Nothing else I can see. So there's that. But you can probably tell the jasper back there, actually the 2 plants, the 1 bucket back there, going crazy as usual. Jasper is just remarkable plants. Anyway, no more false alarms, really taking off this time. It's been a pleasure hanging a boot, and we'll talk to you next time. See ya.